As a small business owner, have you ever felt overwhelmed by the pressure of choosing the right hire or leading a team? Or have you ever found yourself tolerating a bad hire because you fear trying and failing again as you repeat the hiring process? If so, you're not alone, and you are in the right place. Welcome to the Growing Your Team podcast. The Growing Your Team podcast teaches business owners like you to expand your unique business by teaching you to master the hiring and team management process. Hiring and managing a team does not have to be a challenge. You just have to learn to do it right. And the Growing Your Team podcast teaches you how to become a confident leader who hires right every single time. Now, let's jump into the show where each episode you will learn tips on how to identify what type of help you need on your team, how to source amazing candidates, how to conduct interviews that lead you to your ideal team member, how to onboard successfully, and how to lead every person in your business so you have a team of rock stars who you are happy to pay every single paycheck. So let's jump in and teach you how to hire like a pro. Hello, Jamie Van Kuyk here, and welcome back to the Growing Your Team podcast. So just last week, I got back from an amazing business event, the No Woman Summit, and it made me think about a lot of summits and conferences and things we do to be motivated and learn how to scale and grow our businesses. In some events, like the No Summit, touched on some of these aspects, but a lot of the times when I've been involved in these conversations about growing and scaling businesses, there's a lot of information that is critical that is missing from the conversation. And today, I want to talk a little bit about some of those critical things that are missing from most conversations about growing and scaling a business. First, let's take a quick moment and define growth and scale, because these are two different things, and you might be experiencing both in your business, and you might be focusing on one. So growth is really when you're focusing on earning more revenue. So you're going to keep growing what you're doing. You're growing as a business. And maybe you're at 100,000 now and your goal is to get to 200,000. You're going to keep adding and doing more and doing everything that's needed to get to that 200,000, then get to that 300, then get to that 500,000, then get to that $1 million mark. So you're going to keep growing what you're doing. You're focused on that revenue growth. You're focused on being able to serve more people in terms of that. So you're growing out who you are touching with your services or your products, and you're getting that money in return. Scaling is when you're taking kind of what you're doing and you're earning more revenue without really adding a whole lot of extra resources to your business. So for example, you might scale a business by adding something that doesn't take as much manpower or time. So if you are a service-based provider and you provide one-on-one services, you might grow your business by adding a second of you. So you only have so many hours to serve someone one-on-one. You then bring in a second person who can also serve people one-on-one. So that's a way of growing your business. A way of scaling your business is focusing on how do we make more revenue without necessarily adding in that additional person that's going to serve clients. So for example, in a lot of businesses, this could be that instead of working with everybody one-on-one, you figure out a way to work in a one-to-many capacity. Or for a lot of people, it's how do I add courses or add other things where it's kind of like I do it once. Maybe I provide a little bit of my time as people buy it, but people are getting my knowledge. People are getting what they need to be successful from my business without me having to spend time with every person. So I can scale my business, serve more people, earn more revenue without having to add all the people that are going to serve those clients as individuals. So that's a quick difference of scaling and growing. I know on this podcast, we talk about a lot about both because you can be in both stages. You can be focused on scaling and need to add team members. You can focus on growing and need to add team members. I think there's this misconception, and this is one of the things that we're really going to get into today, is when you scale, it's so you're earning more revenue in your business without adding more manpower. So instead of adding that person who's going to serve your customers one-on-one, so a second of you, you're earning revenue in different ways. And I even heard someone say you can scale. One of the purposes of scaling your business is so you don't have to hire additional team members. And that is a false statement. And part of the conversation that we're having today is that if you want to continue earning more revenue in your business, there is always going to be a need to hire and to expand your team. Now, the team you hire to support your business as you're scaling might look different than the team you're going to hire when your business is growing. But it all needs people because even you as yourself can only do so much. There's very few businesses that reach that $1 million mark with nobody on their team. Now, maybe they rely very heavily on contractors, but that's still a form of hiring. So I just want to make that clear is if you want to continue growing your business, it is going to involve hiring. You're going to reach your capacity, your earning ceiling, if you continue to try to do everything yourself. And that even includes continuing with the team you have today. If you really want to grow and you want to scale, chances are at some point the team you have today is not going to meet your needs in the future. So let's take a minute and talk about some of these things that is really missing from a lot of conversations when it talks about preparing you for growth and preparing you for the scalability of your business. And that is a lot on leadership and hiring. There's also some other things that kind of cross into that, like HR type stuff. Don't want to fall victim of HR problems because just because you have a small team or just because you have a team of one of just you doesn't mean you don't have HR problems because you still have, even if it's just you, people working in your business. There's also sometimes missing from the conversation a lot of the things on what to do with finance, how to keep track of your finance, how to really use the numbers that you're getting in to support that growth and support that scalability. So there's a lot of these high-level CEO things that get lost in the conversation because a lot of times when we focus on growth and scaling, we focus on how do I bring in that revenue? How do I make more money? And we forget to focus on how can my business support that additional revenue? Because guess what? If your business can't support earning that additional revenue, you are either going to burn out or your business is going to suffer. Because you don't want to go from providing great customer service, for example, to a business that nobody wants to work with because they don't feel like they're getting their money's worth. So you want to make sure that you are able to have your business be functional on the inside with every new dollar that you're making. And of course, with this being the Growing Your Team podcast, there's a lot of those CEO tasks that are forgotten from the conversation, but we're just real quickly going to talk about leadership and hiring. So let's talk about leadership first. And I'm going to tell you something that might be shocking, or you might sit there and say, yep, I know. Or it might be sitting there saying, oh my goodness, thank gosh, it was not just me. Most first-time managers are ill-equipped for the job. I'll repeat that. Most first-time managers are ill-equipped for the job. And I hope to get a lady on the podcast that I met at the No Summit in a few weeks to really talk about leadership and really becoming that good first-time manager. But the truth is, most people are not put into their first leadership position because they have leadership potential or existing leadership abilities. They're put into their first leadership position because of the fact that they were good at what they do. And if you started a business, nobody put you in that leadership position. You put yourself there. And you might have some leadership experience, people management experience from your past, or you might not. And chances are, even if you had leadership experience, or I guess people management experience from your past, you probably had other people supporting you on that people management journey. Senior leadership, HR teams, other people to help guide you in certain conversations, in certain situations. Now here you are in your business without having that guidance, without having that support, without having someone to tell you, yeah, you know what? You kind of screwed up in that conversation with the team member. Let's go back and fix it. We let our ego get in the way when we're leading within our own business. So if you're coming into leading a team within your own business, and this is the first team you ever led, there's a lot that you don't know when it comes to navigating people management. And because you don't have the people in there to give you feedback, chances are you are going to make mistakes. And to a certain extent, that's okay. We're human. We make mistakes. Sometimes we have to confess to our team that we screwed up. Things are our fault. Here's how we're going to fix it. But the problem is, most of us don't think about improving our people management skills when we're business owners because we're focused on keeping the business running. We're focused on serving our clients. We're focused on growing our revenue. And we're just like, yeah, that will happen over time. I will get better. Or we blame it on our teams. We blame it on our teams when things aren't going well. I made a bad hiring decision. That person should have never been on the team. That person's not capable. But guess what? One person, you can say it's a bad hiring decision. Maybe two. But anything past that, it's either because you don't know how to hire the right team members or you don't know how to lead a team correctly. So you're actually pushing good employees out of your business because you're not giving them the people management support that they need. People management in leadership is such an essential skill to have if you're going to grow and scale a business because you need to work with people inside your company. No CEO can get away with poor people leadership skills if they want a successful business. And guess what? In big businesses, if that CEO is bad, what happens? They typically lose their position, the board kicks them out, and they get replaced with somebody else. In a small business, chances are you're not going to kick yourself out of your business. So your business is going to continue this cycle of maybe having bad morale inside the organization. It's going to have high turnover. It's going to have things that don't go right because you never gain the skills that you need to properly lead your company and your team. So if you're really focused on scaling and growing your business, you need to focus on becoming a good leader, a good people manager. And unlike in corporate where you might be able to learn by trial and error, which is still not a good thing to do, but you might be able to succeed that way, that trial and error is going to be very costly in your own business. So I highly, highly, highly encourage you, if you have never led a team before, or you feel like that there's team problems going on with your organization, or you know that you could improve in your leadership skills, and guess what? We can all improve in our leadership skills. Go out and invest in programs or invest in a coach specifically around the people management side of leadership. And just to tell you a quick personal little fact here, you've heard me talk about it before. Back in 2022, I was a part of the Leadership St. Pete program. Honestly, I joined this program with the mindset that I had a lot of really great leadership skills, and my purpose for joining was to network with people in the community and hopefully get business because I was a part of this organization. I really didn't expect to learn a whole lot on the leadership side because leadership is a strength of mine. Guess what? I learned a lot about leading and interacting with others. It was surprising to me, but I'm so thankful for it, especially when you're in an organization and you're in a room where most people are in that program because they have always been standout leaders. To learn to work well with other leaders is a skill and something that you need to spend time and focus on in order to be able to do it well. So even if you think you're good at leadership, invest time and money into becoming a better leader because it is so important if you want to grow or scale your business. All right, so now let's talk about hiring. This is something that is typically overlooked in a lot of conversations about growing and scaling. And let me tell you, I love public speaking, so I submit proposals to so many events that are around growing and scaling businesses. And there's a lot that I don't get selected for. And I always think, I'm like, okay, well, they're going to have someone else, and they just chose not to select me. But I'll look at their lineup, and then this is a topic they don't even touch. They hardly touch on anything leadership-wise, and they definitely don't touch anything on hiring. But 50% of their presentations are about marketing or sales, and sometimes even up to 75%. And I'm sitting there saying, that's great, but how are you supposed to support that incoming business? How are you supposed to support your revenue increasing, let's say 100% in a year? These training topics on how to get more business can only take you so far if you don't have the team in place to support that business. So hiring is an essential skill if you want to grow and scale your business. And way too many people think that it's easy until they screw up about 7 times. They think that I can just learn as I go until they get a series of bad hires and have to hire and then fire and then hire and then fire. And they get fed up and they're just like, I guess I'm just not going to scale my business. I guess I'm just going to keep it where it is because I cannot get reliable help. Well, just like leadership, hiring a good team is a skill. It's something that is a learned behavior that you really need to spend time learning how to do well. So you need to invest in that time. And obviously, you're okay with investing your time and learning how to hire people because here you are, you're listening to this podcast. We're about 17, 18 minutes in, I believe, and you're still listening, which means you want to learn how to hire well. But you really need to make sure that you're spending the time and getting the coaching and getting the training and getting the guidance so you can bring the right people into your team. But here's the thing I want to talk about hiring. When it comes to hiring, it's not so much just getting that right person into your organization when you post that job. Yes, that is super, super, super important. But there's also important things on both sides of that. First, you need to be adding the right positions to your organization. You can't hire the right people if you're not hiring for the right positions. And then second, what happens after that person joins your team? Are you onboarding them well? Are you training them well? Are you really teaching them what is needed to match your expectations? Or are you just throwing them into the water the first day and say, I hope you can swim? So there's a lot you need to do once they're on the job to really make that hiring decision effective. This also includes being able to delegate. I've talked to so many business owners who are afraid to delegate. So they hired the team, but then they're not properly delegating to that team, which almost makes it a waste. You're having this person that you're paying, but then you're not getting anything for your money because they're not doing the tasks. And then you're like, well, they're not doing the tasks. And it's like, okay, they're not doing the work because you're not telling them to do the work. You're not allowing them to do the work. So you need to be able to actually delegate to this team. I've talked about this a few times lately, but I'm just going to bring it up again. So if you've heard this before, stick with me because this is something that is, well, as they say, sometimes you need to hear things multiple times in order for it to sink in. And this is super, super important. And if you haven't heard this yet, really, really listen. I once worked with a 200-person organization, and the CEO was still the head of every department because they couldn't get themselves out of the day-to-day So we help them hire a director of finance and a director of HR to overtake the day-to-day of those departments and work with the quote unquote lower level team members that were doing some of that work there, because the CEO was so afraid to delegate at first that they were holding on to all these tasks that they shouldn't be for a 200-person organization. So this fear of delegating doesn't go away just because you hired a team member or two. It's something that can stick with you throughout your business. And it either results in you not actually giving your team members the work that you planned on giving them when you just developed the position, or it makes you resist hiring those higher level positions because you think, oh, I got my assistant, I got my junior team member, I got my part-time bookkeeper, I got my part-time whatever it is. I don't need anything more because I got it. But let me tell you, if you want to keep growing and scaling your business, unless you want to work 24/7, you cannot do it all. Hiring is a part of scaling. It's a part of growth. And yes, with some scaling, like we talked about, you don't need to hire a team right away because you're able to use the time you have to serve more people, but there still becomes a part of that or a moment in time when you have to hire to continue serving more, to continue that scalability, to continue that growth, to say, okay, I have this amazing course that now I'm going to put out there so I can have, maybe it's a lower level offer for the people who can't afford to work with you one-on-one, or they can work with you when you don't have time to take on any more one-to-one clients. But who's going to market that course when you're busy with your one-to-one clients? Who's going to go through and do the customer service when people have questions? Who's going to help edit the videos or create the documents that are out there? Some of the stuff you don't have time for, so it still involves you getting help. Okay, so let's start wrapping up and recapping for today. There are so many events out there that you can go to, whether they're online or in person. There's books that you can buy. There's courses you can take. There's things that you can read online, podcasts that you can listen to that are all around what you can do to grow and scale your business. But a lot of times, a lot of those CEO level tasks are missing from the conversation. Just remember, growing and scaling is not just about earning more revenue. It's not just about serving more people or getting your product into more hands. Growing and scaling also involves having a healthy business. And you can't have a healthy business if you don't have strong leadership and if you don't get the right people on your team into the right positions to support the business that you actually have. Not the business that you think you have, the business you actually have. So if you want to grow and scale, you really need to elevate yourself into that CEO role, getting closer to that CEO role, and do that by becoming a leader and delegating properly. That is an essential part for growing and scaling your business. You got this. I cannot wait to see how your businesses transform as you grow and scale this year and to next. But just remember, it's not all about revenue. It's not all about sales. Grow your business just as much internally as you are growing that revenue number. Are you ready to hire a new team member for your business and you want to ensure you hire the person who can succeed in the role, make you happy, and positively impact your bottom line? Then let's talk and see how growing your team can help you master the art of hiring. Through bespoke hiring frameworks and comprehensive guidance, you will learn how to attract candidates who have the passion you desire and the skills needed to succeed. At Growing Your Team, women entrepreneurs and leaders work with us to help them expand their unique businesses by teaching them how to hire like a pro. Let's connect and see how we can help you. Send me an email at jamie@growingyourteam.com. That's Jamie, Jamie, at growingyourteam.com, or head on over to growingyourteam.com/jumpstart, with jumpstart being all one word, and let's talk about how you can become a confident leader who hires right every single time.